What's going on, Aces? It's Friday. I hope that you are having an amazing start to your weekend. So yesterday, LaTocha Scott went on the Ricky Smiley Morning Show, and she was there with her husband, Rocky. And this was an impromptu interview, right? So she wasn't scheduled. Ricky said that she was in the building for somebody else promoting her gospel album, and she agreed to come on the Ricky Smiley Morning Show in order to clear up the past rumors in regards to the money, the alleged mistresses, all the drama that has been surrounding the Scott sisters in the past, few weeks. So she comes over there with Rocky, and right off the bat, LaTocha, she was asked a simple question by the Brat, right? So in regards to her husband's name, that was the first thing that stood out to me because, the Brat was just giving her point of view in regards to the situation with Sound Exchange and the checks and the receipts that her sister, Tamika Scott, has, placed after being egged on to do it. So she says, the Brat says, well, I don't really know his name, Edwin or Edward. Okay. And Bivens, right? His name is Rocky Bivens, but Rocky obviously is a nickname. So his name is Edward Bivens. And that is exactly the name that Tamika has placed that was on the signature that was on the Sound Exchange check. And I actually made a video about it if y'all want to go back. It's titled Receipts because Tamika dropped all of them. And Edward Bivens is on the signature page. So LaTocha looks at the Brat and says, leans in the microphone and says, no, that's not true. Her husband sitting right there beside her, pretending like he's watching the news, like he don't know what's going on. So Ricky Smiley actually dropped an extended interview, which I'm really happy that he did. And then Rocky eventually clarifies and says, no, that's my name. And the Brat's like, okay, well, LaTocha just said that it wasn't your name. And that's relevant because I feel like that sums up everything that has been going on. Okay. And then LaTocha's like, well, no, that's not true. And then she was trying to play semantics going back and forth with, the Brat. And Gary, with the T was asking about, the dress. LaTocha says she didn't get the memo back when, she wore the green dress and everybody else in the group wore a different color. She was like, I didn't get the memo. Okay. And it was other things that she was basically, being called out. And part of me is just like, I really wish that she would get to a place where she is honest. Just be honest. If you're going to go on the Ricky Smiley Morning Show to provide clarity, please provide the clarity. All this stuff going on with, her and her sister. I mean, and it's being played out and in social media. And the only reasons why we're talking about it is because, it's relevant, not only with the show, but also, Kandi Burress and, LaTocha Scott and Tiny Harris are going out and they're touring. They're actually in Washington, D.C. this weekend. But, and then LaTocha's, promoting her gospel album. But, for her to go on the Ricky Smiley Morning Show yesterday, and I'll actually put a link in the description box so you guys can watch the full video. Because, I just, Ricky Smiley says something so hilarious. He's been one of my favorite comedians for so long. Before she got there, he said, and we have LaTocha Scott here promoting her new single, her gospel single titled, Thou Shalt Not Steal. And everybody's like, ooh-wee. And they break out laughing in the studio. And I really would love if they can get to a place where LaTocha says, you know what? It was during a time where I was at my lowest. And, she said that, during that time that, she made an IG live. I'm gonna make a separate video about that. But she said, that her and her husband, they were all living with their mom. And, that was a time where it was, a hard time in her life. And we all have mountains and valleys. Okay. I'm not negating that. But when you go on such a huge platform like Ricky Smiley, please be honest. Like if you're promoting a gospel album, sis, like, I mean, if you're asked a straightforward name about or question about your husband's name, he's sitting right there beside you, and be honest. And then the Brat was trying to explain, to her how she felt that Kandi, was just always seemed really down and ganged up on, because when they were younger, they were all on the So Def label, right? So the Brat was, of course, a solo rap artist, and with Xscape, she was like, I was honestly afraid of you. The Brat was sharing her heart. And, she was like, and Kandi always felt down. And, Tamika always, would have, of course, her sister's back. And Tamika, has spoken on this, right? That during that time, she even told lies to cover LaTocha. And LaTocha's steadily on this radio show, cutting the Brat off. Now, the Brat is pregnant, okay, by the way. So cut her some slack. But, LaTocha's like, well, that's not true. And, Kandi, I didn't know she felt like that. And she's just really defensive, right? During the whole interview. So anyway, after they leave, the next segment is Kandi Burress calling in, okay? So, and directly after LaTocha and Rocky leave. So Kandi calls in, and Ricky's like, what are you doing listening on to the radio? And Kandi's like, I listen to y'all on the app. So she calls in and she addresses the lies. The first one being her husband's name, LaTocha's husband's name. She's like, that interview was really interesting because that is his name. Edward Bivens is his name. For LaTocha to just be like, well, that's not true. When you tell bold-faced lies like that, it really damages any kind of credibility that you have. Okay. So I'm really glad that Kandi called in, and, the Brat was saying, I tried, I went to bat for you. And I was saying how, y'all constantly had, issues when we were growing up as young artists. And Kandi's like, yeah, and just a lot of the things that LaTocha was saying just really was not true during this interview. And allegedly, right? But from what I can deduce from everything that Tamika has said, that, Miss Diane has said, the Sound Exchange people have said, and Rocky is right there beside her like, well, I don't want to say anything because of my mother-in-law. Well, your mother-in-law, got before the cameras and told the cameraman to, shut off the cameras and all this. The only thing that I can deduce is that I'm hoping that they can come to some sort of resolution, that LaTocha and Rocky end up paying that money back, allegedly, and that, they can move on, that the Brat has a safe and healthy delivery. Because she was really going to bat for Kandi, which, shout out to the Brat. She's going to stand 10 toes down in her truth. Rocky was coming to her crazy like, well, you know me. And the Brat's like, I know of you. Like, I know when you were working with R. Kelly in Chicago, I don't really know you like that. I can't vouch for you and your character. Because, Rocky went on, Live with Tasha K, and all kind of tea was spilled. But, the Brat is pregnant, so I want her to have a healthy and safe pregnancy. But I really do appreciate Kandi calling in, providing us clarification, much needed, and saying that, she really feels like LaTocha blames her for, I don't know, I guess being successful. Kandi has an amazing work ethic, and, she's an entrepreneur, businesswoman. She has her own YouTube channel. Speak on it. I love it. But yeah, she's worked hard since she was 14 years old, that we know of, right? That's when they were in the group together. She was the youngest, and LaTocha is the oldest member, if she's still a member. I don't know. Kandi said that They're currently touring without Tasha, and she said that she hopes that her and Tamika Scott, the sisters, can have any kind, resolution before they're able to work together, because they always seem to butt heads. But like I said, I'm going to link the description of the Ricky Smiley interview so you guys can listen to it for yourselves and make your own conclusions. But just my side my side advice before I go to LaTocha's IG that she just made is, if you're going to go on an interview with a really large platform, please be honest. That's all I got. Ain't got no more. Y'all have a great weekend. Drop down in the comments. Let me know your thoughts about the whole situation, and I will talk with you later. Take care. Oh, and don't forget to like the channel, please, and subscribe. Thank you, Aces. I appreciate it. Bye, y'all.